Hi everyone, Ravi this side. Welcome to EnggAdda. So in this video we are going to develop a full stack web application. We are going to use the Spring Boot as a backend and Angular as a front end. In the previous video I showed you how you can consume the REST API, how you can call the REST API using Angular, and then how you can render the data in HTML so that we can see those data into the browser. Here what we are going to do, we are just going to simply create a Spring Boot CRUD application as a backend, and then from thereafter we'll try to call the API in the Angular. Okay, so let me go to the IntelliJ, and I have already created one Spring Boot CRUD application with the entity called product, and we have followed the standard way of developing the APIs. So we have created the entity, repository, service, and then controller. So you can come to the controller, you can see we have created this couple of APIs. So if you don't know how to create a Spring Boot CRUD application, then there is a video on my channel, you can go and watch it out. I will provide the link of that video in the description. So let me go to the browser and show you. So this is the video. You can search for the Spring Boot project, CRUD project. You will find it out. Okay. So let me go to the IntelliJ, and there, here you can see we have created this CRUD application. And let me try to make this application up. It was already running. Let me try to make it up again. So yeah, this is up on the port number 9000. Okay. So and I'm using the database as a MySQL. So I've created this product DB database in MySQL. I'm providing the URL, username, and password, and this is the port on which our application is up. Okay. So let me go to the Postman and show you how the APIs are working. So first of all, let me go to the product controller and let me try to access the git mapping. Okay, so I have inserted couple of record there. So let me try to go to the Postman and let me try to hit the git API. So just hit it. So you can see we have one record here. Okay, now let me try to go to the IntelliJ. So this is the class level mapping API and product, and our application is locally upon the port number 9000. So we are trying to access this API, which is a git mapping. So it is finding out all the product from the database. So we have only one product, so that is why it is returning one record here. Okay. Now let me try to check this API, which is find by ID. So we need to provide the ID there. So go to the Postman and then just enter the ID here. So you can see it is returning the product record by ID. Now let me try to insert couple of records more so that we can uh, see how the save is or the post is working. So let me go to the IntelliJ. What is the mapping for the post? So in the post we don't have any mapping. So with this mapping we can access the post. So let me go to the Postman and just remove this. Change the method type to post. Just remove this slash, and then let me try to insert one record, and the product name is laptop, and let's say the price is 60,000 and the quantity is 1. Let me send it. So you can see we have inserted this record. Now let me try to find all the record from the database. So let me try to send it. So you can see now we have two records. Okay. Now let me try to also access the get by ID. So let's say I'm going to access the second product. So you can see we are able to see the laptop. So these APIs are working fine. Okay, if you want to check for the other APIs, get and delete, sorry, put and delete, then you can also check it. So these APIs are working fine. So we are good with the backend development. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to create a Angular application, and thereafter we'll create one child component, and then inside that we'll try to consume this API, Git API. Okay. We'll try to consume this Git API find all, and then we'll try to render those data into the HTML. So let's get started for that. So let me go to the folder, and here I'm creating my project. So let me try to open a command prompt. So to create a Angular project, we need to run the command ng-new and then the name of the product. So let's say Angular front. Okay, let me try to Angular front and just enter it. It will take few seconds to create this application. So just wait for that. Would you like to add Angular routing? No. Which style sheet format would you like to use? Let's say CSS. So you can say it is started installing the packages, and in few seconds it will create our application. So just wait for that. So you can see our application is successfully created. Okay. So now let me go inside the application that we have created. So the application name is Angular front. Now let me try to go inside this CD Angular front. Okay. And let me try to open this application in a Visual Studio Code. So for that, let me try to run the code space dot, and then it will open our project in the Visual Studio Code. So you can see our project is up, Angular front in Visual Studio Code. Now let me go to the source app, and let me try to open the terminal here first. So we are inside our project. Now we need to create one child component. Okay, and then we'll try to call that child component in the app component.html, and after that in the child component.ts file only we'll try to access the API. So first of all, let me try to create the child component. So to create the child component, we need to run the command ng-generate and then component and the component name. So let's say Angular REST, Angular front, something like that, Angular, or something like front page, something like front app. Okay, so it will take few seconds. Let's say no now, and then it will create our child component. So you can see it has created our child component. Here you can see front app. Okay, now let me try to call this child component in the main component. So let me go to the component.ts, and here you can see the selector. We need to copy this, come to the app component.html, and here let me try to remove everything. Okay, so let me try to select all and then just remove it, and simply we are calling the child component here. Just save it. Now let me try to make our application up. So ng serve space minus minus open. Okay, so it will build our application, and then it will host our application locally on the port number 4200, which is the default port for the Angular. So just wait for that. Okay, so it is building. Now it is sealing, and our application is up now. So you can see we are able to get this text which is coming from the child component. So let me try to show you that. So come here, come to the front child component.html file. You can see in the child component.html we have front app works. So this is the text inside the child component, right? Now let me try to change it, and let's say Angular front page, something like that. Let's say Angular front page, and just save it. Now let me go to the browser. You can see we are able to see the text that we have updated now. So what we did, we created one child component, and we are calling the child component in the main component. Okay. Now let me go to the child component.ts, which is front app.component.ts file. And here what I will do, I will try to access the API. Okay, so let me go to the IntelliJ and let me try to show you. So we are going to access this get mapping API, which is finding all the product details or all the product record from the database. Let me try to hit this API again into the Postman and then show you. So the API to access all the record from the database is HTTP localhost. Our application is up on the port number 9000 and then API and product. Just hit enter this and then you can see we have only two records into the database. So we are able to find these two record from the database when we are accessing this API. Okay, so we are just going to call this API in our Angular application. So now let me go to the Angular and here let me try to create one constructor. Okay, now whatever record we are going to call from the backend, we are just storing it into the a list of products variable. So let me try to create that variable. So let's say the variable name is products and it is of any type. Okay, with the help of HTTP client, we need to call the API. So for that, we need to inject the HTTP client in the constructor. So let me try to do that. So let's say HTTP client. Okay, now we need to import this class. So let me try to import it. So copy this import statement, paste it out here, and we need to import the HTTP client. So just import it, and it is from Angular common HTTP, and just save it. So what we did, we created one variable called product, and then we injected our HTTP client. So with the help of this HTTP variable, we'll try to access the API. So let me try to do that. So let me try to create one variable called response, and in that variable we'll try to store all the values that we are getting from the API. So let's say http dot get and then provide the API here. So let me go to the Postman and copy that API. Copy this. Now come to the Visual Studio Code, paste it out here. Okay. So we are calling the API and then restoring those result in the response. Now what we need to do? We need to assign this response, this data in the product. So for that, let me try to subscribe this response dot subscribe and data, and then we need to store those data into the product variable that we have created. Okay, so we are good now. So what we are doing, we are just calling the API, getting the result in the response, and then subscribing the response, and then we are assigning those data which is coming from the API to the variable called products. Okay, now let me try to, our backend application is up. Okay, so it is sending the data to the API, and our front end application is also up. So now let me go to the browser and then show you something. So just save it. Oh, sorry. Now let me come here. Let me try to see the HTML. Just save this. Coming to the front end component, just save it. Now go to the browser and we are not able to see anything, right? Why? Because we are not importing the HTTP client module in the app component, sorry, app module.ts file. So here we need to import that. So come here, app module.ts, and then go to the import and then import the HTTP client module. Okay, now let me try to import this class. Just save this and now go to the browser and let me try to show you the console logs. So just right click on this and then go to inspect, and here let me go to the console logs. So here you can see we are able to see the backend API, right? But we are also seeing some error, which is course error. Okay. So what is course policy? So course policy is cross origin resource sharing policy. So we are seeing this error because our browser needs some permission from the backend API to access it. So we need to enable the course in our browser. So how we can do that? So you need to go to the extension of your browser and then you need to search for the course and then you can enable it or you can install that extension. So let me close this. You can see I already have installed the course. Okay. How you can install it? So let me try to show you. So go to the extension and you can opt this open Microsoft Edge ads on, and then here you can search for your course extension. So just search for course and I have installed this extension. Okay, so similarly you can select this and install it. Okay, now let me try to close this, and this is off now, so let me try to make it on. So just click on this and just on this and just save it. So now let me try to again let me try to go to the Visual Studio Code. Let me try to save these files again. Okay, go to the browser. So now let me try to inspect this. So go to the console log. So this time you can see the error is not coming, but we are also not able to see the data which is coming from the backend. Why? Because we are not logging that data. So let me go to the studio and then you can go to the front app.component.ts file. Here you can see we are just assigning those data to the variable that we have created, which is products. Now let me try to log this data and then show you, and then after that what we'll do, we'll try to render those data to the HTML by assigning it to the variable that we have created. So for now let me try to do the console log for the data. So just let me try to remove this console.log and just save it. Okay, now let me go to the browser and here you can see we are able to see the data which is coming from the backend. In the get API we can see only two records because in the database we have inserted these two records. So let me open this and you can see we have these two records, which is the product 1 and product 2, and the product 1 name is mobile and the second one is laptop. That is what I showed you in the postman. Let me try to cross check it. So just send it. So you can see we are able to fetch these two record from the database, and in the front also we are able to get these records. Okay, so everything is working fine. We are able to call the get API from the backend in our front end. Okay, now let me try to close this. Now go to the Visual Studio Code. Now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to create a HTML table and render this data to that table. So let me revert back the changes. So we are saving this in the product list of products. Okay, so now go to the front app.component.html and let me try to, okay, just let it be there. So go to the browser, let me search for the table. So HTML table code, something like that. Okay, okay, now go down, go to the W3 school, try this one, copy the code, and then come to the Visual Studio in the child component.html file. Just remove this. Let me remove this and just paste it out. So let me try to change the name. of the table. So let's say it is Angular front end. Okay, and here we need to do some changes. So let me try to populate the field name. So let me go to the IntelliJ, and what all fields we have in the product. So we have ID, name, price, and quantity. So let me try to populate that. So ID, name, price, and quantity. Okay, price. Let me try to copy this, and quantity. So these are the fields of the table. Okay, now let me try to get the values. So let me try to remove this all static data. We don't need this. Just save it. Now here what I'm going to do, I'm just going to access the product list that we have created. So you can come to the front end component.ts. You can see our all data which is coming from the API is stored inside this variable, which is a list of product. So just copy this, come to the HTML. Now let me try to use the ng4 so that we can iterate through this list. Okay, so let product of products, and with the help of this instance we'll try to access each attributes. Okay, so we are doing some wrong thing here, so it should be inside the tr tag, not td. So just remove this tr now, and this from here we have the closing one here. Okay, now let me try to remove this static data, and let me try to access from the instance product. So product dot id. Okay, and similarly we need to access all the four attributes. So let me copy this and just paste it here four times, and let me change the attribute name. So first one is id, second is name, and then price, and then quantity. Okay, just save this. So we are good now. Let me go to the browser and go to the Angular front, and here you can see we created this table, and we are also able to render the data which is coming from the API to this table. Okay, so this is how you can integrate your backend with the front end. So this is about this video, guys. If you like the video, please hit the like button, and please subscribe the channel for more such content. Thanks.